Okay, we are live, but gotta let it breathe just for a moment here while we connect Facebook and we connect Instagram. It's been a lot of fun. It's been a lot of fun streaming to Instagram the last month or so. And it looks like we are live. Welcome in, everybody. It's the Mile High Huddle podcast. I'm your host, Chad Jensen, and with me is my fellow football priest, who you know, who you love, Zack Kelberman. Zack, turns out that when you field a winning product, you make the playoffs, you win double-digit games, you're plus 500. Teams around the NFL they come calling, so to speak. There's been multiple assistants in the rumor mill, and now, Zack, a new one, kind of a surprise, Chris Banjo, and of course, Darren Moogie, we'll talk about him too, the front office guy. But the first thing I wanted to ask you about, since you had the story for us and you can break it down for everybody, is, Banjo, he's been a guy well-regarded since Sean Payton arrived. And with the firing of Ben Kotwick, I was like, well, look, if they don't end up getting this Darren Rizzi guy, maybe they just promote Banjo. And in fact, the last article I wrote on the subject, I surmised that as a possibility, but they might have to do that, Zack, based on your reporting, if they want to keep him.
Yeah, I wrote the same thing, that it seemed like Banjo was the next man to succeed Kotwika in-house. If they venture out of house, Darren Rizzi, he's the logical choice. He worked with Sean Payton in New Orleans. Banjo, he played in the NFL for 10 years as a defensive back. He's been on the staff for 2 years, since 2023. And the Jets, if there's one team that likes what the Broncos are putting out the last couple seasons, it's the Jets. They interviewed VJ for head coach. They're interviewing Darren Moogie for general manager, second interview. And now Chris Banjo. There's all the connection there with the new head coach in New York, Aaron Glenn. So we'll see what materializes, Chad. If Banjo doesn't go to New York, I could see him replacing Kotwika. If he does go, they're going to be forced to go all in on Darren Rizzi.
Did you just mute me or did I mute myself? That was weird. Zack, Scott's saying here the Saints players were publicly pushing for Rizzi as head coach. So kind of interesting. I don't know. I didn't know he had that much cachet, Zack.
Yeah. He seems like a player's kind of coach, like a Nathaniel Hackett, where he's like your friend and he has a good environment. I don't know much about New Orleans operation, but if someone like Alvin Kamara wants him as head coach, I'll gladly take Rizzi as special teams coordinator.
No doubt about it. I think it was David. What's up, bro? That goes to show everyone how well we were doing. Thank you for the super, David Yunkin. And that's exactly true, big dog, is when you start doing things, out come the wolves, and the Broncos garnered some notice. It was kind of cool. Officially, you had 3 Broncos that are in the named finalists for 3 of the most coveted awards from the AP, which of course get announced at the NFL Honors. So you have Peyton as a finalist for Coach of the Year, Bo Nix is a finalist for Offensive Rookie of the Year, and then Patrick Surtain not only as a finalist, Zack, for Defensive Player of the Year officially, but all the stars are aligning for him to bring home that award for the first time as a Broncos since Hall of Famer Randy Gradishar, 1978, when I was still a twinkle in Mark Jensen's eye.
Yeah, and Surtain also won the Pro Football Writers Association Defensive Player of the Year award. It's kind of a prelude to the AP Depoy Award, which will come out before the Super Bowl. I think he's pretty much a shoo-in to nab that shot. I don't know about Peyton winning AP Coach of the Year, and I don't know about Bo. He's not going to win Rookie of the Year, but the recognition is nice for sure.
The Papa Bear, David McElrath, jumping in with a very cool super chat. Thank you, big dog. He says, good evening, Broncos country. Looking forward to the draft. Hashtag God bless the USA. Hashtag let's go, Bo. Same here, dude. This is my favorite time of the year. You guys have heard me say that before, but it really is. I love the rumors. I love the, in some cases, where you're kind of fantasizing about what could be both in the draft and free agency. Ronk, what's up, bro? Great to see you tonight on our Facebook page, the mayor of the MHH Facebook community, and always as well, Zack, so consistent in the props and in the support we get from him on X, on Twitter. So really cool. Great to see you. And also, The Sam Bam checking in. Sam, thank you,
Thank
bro.
you, bro.
From the bottom of our hearts, that means a lot. Thank you, dude. He says, "Evening, guys. What's the latest you're hearing on Vance Joseph getting a head coaching job? I hope he stays for continuity purposes, but at the same time, there might be better defensive coordinator options out there. Go Broncos." Zach, what's the latest? You're a lot more ear to the floor on this kind of stuff than I am.
Is pretty much, in terms of public knowledge, one opening that VJ could fill, and that would be the Raiders job, which he interviewed for. The Jets already hired their new head coach. I don't think VJ has spoken to the Saints or the Bears hired Ben Johnson, and their openings are going quickly, Chad. And VJ's name has only been floated with those two franchises. So I think he's going to return as defensive coordinator, Sam. I think you're going to get your wish, and it would be good for continuity. He did coach a pretty good unit in 2024. You just hope that he corrects the warts on that defense, of which, Chad, there are several.
Indeed. I'm a lot more. I see Vance Joseph much more as an asset, probably than a lot of you guys, but I think he'll end up staying for what it's worth, Sam. I don't think he's getting hired away for a head coach. Like, the Broncos defense was good, and those 63 sacks, Zach, the most in the NFL, that is impressive.
Yeah.
But it's not enough relative to the entire Bronco picture. I mean, you had a star rookie quarterback doing historic things at times during the season. It's not enough to overcome, in my opinion, in one fell swoop. Even the recency biasy of the Dolphins game the year prior, and then the ignominious 11 victories in 2 seasons as a head coach. I just don't think there's been enough water passed under that bridge yet for Vance Joseph to genuinely get the hire. I mean, the Raiders, Zach, are coming off of a defensive-minded hire already at head coach. They had a bad situation with Josh McDaniels. I don't think they're going to go. I don't think that team. But then again, it's Mark Davis, so, all bets are off. But from what I have heard, Vance Joseph is not a legit option down there. They're looking for something with a little more, Zach, gravitas, so to speak.
They wanted Ben Johnson, lost out on him. I don't know. To me, Chad, it's a win-win. If VJ stays, like Sam's talking about, you'll get the continuity and a chance to keep the same scheme in place. But if he goes and gets the head coaching job, the Broncos would be awarded 2 third-round comp picks. And I'll gladly take those.
I know that is an allure. But yeah, we'll see how that shakes out. Some hellos real quick as we get the show going. And by the way, guys, nothing, we're in the off season, so there's no pressing news. I mean, we'll come up against a few tentpole moments like the new league year, free agency, the draft, and next week Scott and I will be in Mobile at the Senior Bowl. That'll be a lot of fun content coming out of that. Zach and I are going to make the trip to the Combine this year. So we're going to, what year was it we did that together, Zach? 19?
19.
So we're reprising our trip. We're going to set Indianapolis on fire, so to speak. We're going to paint the town red. Jensen and Kelberman, we're on our way.
We're
but
back.
Then we get to the draft. It's going to be a gas. But this is a long-winded way, guys, of saying that this is about conversation. This is about, we're going to analyze the rumors. That's part of what's fun, why we do this every single night. But whatever's on your mind, we want to hear it. We've heard from the Davids. That includes the Papa Bear. We've heard from Sam, the Ronk. Todd, what's up, dude? Todd Ostendorf in the house. Great to see you. I'm just looking for a topic that is intriguing there. I'll keep a lookout for you there, Todd. But also shouts to Pearl. Sorry to hear about your troubles on Facebook, but YouTube's a good place to set up shop as your new home. But Zach, get this. This is from Mike Kliss, and this is touching on kind of what we were talking about earlier in the stream on the subject of Darren Rizzi. Sources: the Bears and Darren Rizzi. That's not expected to happen. Bears expected to keep respected Richard Hightower as their special teams coordinator. Lends a little more hope that the Broncos can land Rizzi, but nothing imminent or decided. Rizzi is in play for head coach with the Saints and possibly the Raiders, and he has other special team coordinator options. So, Zach, that being said, I really like the idea of him coming to Denver, But if it's not to be, you might have to promote Chris Banjo to hold on to him.
Yeah, it's the only logical in-house candidate. Out of house, except for Darren Rizzi. I was reading a Mike Kliss article that I cited in my story, and he mentioned Chris Tabor, longtime NFL coordinator. He had stops with the Panthers and a few other teams as an option. But I don't know if you're Darren Rizzi, why you'd want to go be on a first-time head coach's staff in Chicago, unless the money is really good, Chad. I don't know any connections to the coaching staff there, but why not come to Denver, work under your old boss, Sean Payton, and have a good time while doing it?
Indeed. I mean, he worked for Coach Payton as his special teams coordinator his final 3 years as head coach in New Orleans. Then when Payton left, he stayed on as special teams coordinator, obviously. But then Dennis Allen, he must have had some interest or something elsewhere, because Dennis Allen also named him the assistant head coach. So a little bit of a at least nominal promotion there. And then, of course, when Allen was fired, he became the interim. And that's why people in New Orleans, players, are campaigning for Rizzi to stick around. But it'll be interesting. Let's shift gears here to free agency. A couple interesting points here from the Ronk saying Buccaneers receiver Chris Godwin is a name that has been linked to the Broncos. Indeed, linked. He's really, I think he could be phenomenal, Zach, in Denver. But how much does the fact that he missed all of about half of last season factor in, and the fact that he's only got one more under 30 season technically, so under his belt, or to come, right? So he's 28, he's about to turn 29. So this coming season, Zach, is the last under 30 campaign you're going to get out of Chris Godwin.
Yeah, you brought up the points I was going to make. He turns 29 in late February, and the injury jacket, and he's a great player when he's on the field. It's just, do you want to dump money and investment into a guy that is maybe not going to give you the best bang for your buck? And the other thing about his play style, to me, he's like a poor man's version of T. Higgins, and T. Higgins is a rich man's version of Courtland Sutton. You need a different type of receiver. I keep saying this, Chad. You need the yin to the yang here. Godwin's a little more of a possession guy, and he will be now after the injury and at his age as well. I'd rather the Broncos go youthful, or if they want to look at Garrett Wilson, just someone that can complement Courtland Sutton as a game breaker. The Jamar Chase to the T. Higgins.
See, and it, to me, going after Godwin fits a little bit more. Come back to me, camera. Fits a little bit more the kind of the approach I favor this year in the offseason, which is, I'm not saying don't draft receivers, but what I am saying is spend, that big kind of gaping hole you're missing as a bona fide number two. Like, we have reason to believe that future number two has emerged in the form of Marvin Mims Jr., but I mean, he was one of the most productive receivers in the NFL the second half of the season. He capped off the season with back-to-back two touchdown games. Like, there's a lot to be intrigued about Mims-wise, Zach, as far as the future, but you can't count on it. And not just because of him, but just the overall kind of disinterest from the franchise. This is a Payton thing of committing to him as a fixture, like full-time. You're our guy. In the same way, for example, Zach, that you see a bona fide guy like Courtland Sutton. Yeah, you're our ex. You're the guy. Maybe we'll see that. But I like Chris Godwin as that Band-Aid. Throw a few bucks at him, front load it, so that you get at least one good year, his last under 30 year, maybe two, and then you decide, and then you use those draft resources on running back, because it is such a deep class, Zach, that I mean, not to say you can't go wide receiver in the draft, but I like the idea of throwing a few bucks at Godwin. Don't go crazy. It depends on what he's looking for and what the market, obviously. But I like Godwin as a fit here, big time.
It wouldn't preclude me, if I was running the Broncos, if I signed Godwin to a 1 or 2 year contract, maybe front load it, it wouldn't preclude me from using a high round draft pick at receiver too. I don't know that
Right.
Marvin Mims is ever going to be the permanent number two, Chad. Great gadget player. I'm just looking at the availability factor. And Chris Godwin, he played in all 17 games in 2023. That was the first time he played a full season since 2018. So for me, availability is a huge factor, especially when you want those weapons to build with Bo Nix and grow and ascend with your franchise quarterback.
But yeah, there are a lot of other options out there. I mean, the Broncos, yes, Najee Harris is a free agent, the Pittsburgh Steelers running back. He's been linked. There is one thing, Jody and Zach, here to consider on the Harris subject. I'm with you. To me, he's just a less injury, a smaller he's a I wouldn't even say a pre-injury Javonte Williams, but if you look at Harris's PFR, Zach, for example, it's impressive. Your eye first thing is caught by the fact that he's rushed for 1,000 yards in each of his 4 NFL seasons, and you go, okay, yeah, that's consistency. But you think about the Steelers offense, and then you look, Zach, at his yards per carry, 3-point chain, 3.7, 3.8, 4.0, 4.1. He's very much a 3 yards in a cloud of dust kind of guy. And especially if you're going to expect, Zach, if you're going to sign him and expect him to be 1,000-yard rusher, you need to have a play caller where running the ball is like the first thing you do. Like it's your team focus, like it's been for the Steelers, especially Zach post Big Ben.
I've kept a close eye on this because I've had Najee or a Steelers running back in fantasy football the last couple seasons. And I'll tell you, if you like late career CJ Anderson or you like the recent version of Javonte Williams, you'll love Najee Harris. I just want more explosion back there, and you already have a cheaper version of him with Audric Estime. You need the Jahmyr Gibbs type, Chad. You need the game-breaking type, the electric type, and that's where I think the Broncos, in one of the deepest draft classes at running back, by the way, that's where they'll find that guy, not Najee Harris. It's a big pass for me.
Now, Scott, you're talking about Harris, right? According to Mr. Producer, the biggest play of Harris's NFL career, 37 yards, Zach, and it was a reception. So if you're looking for that game breaker, that guy that could turn the game on us, with the snap of your fingers, and you just need, he's not that guy. He's basically, Zach, and I don't even know, they're coming out of the same draft class. Now I'm going to look this up real quick. Najee Harris, stand by. Najee is he's 26. Okay, now I'm going to look at Javonte. I'm trying to remind myself of exactly Javonte's age. He's 2 years older, so he doesn't have that catastrophic injury, but he's 2 years older and not much different in terms of the end product, Zach, and then we'll grab Colby.
He's not even the best available running back in free agency. That would be Aaron Jones. And if the Broncos want to throw a dart, I'd rather than go for Aaron Jones. And Najee's not even the best running back on his own team. In my opinion, that'd be Jaylen Warren. Because you know why? He's more dynamic. He has more explosion. It's more than 3 yards in a cloud of dust. That's the type of player the Broncos should be looking at hard this offseason.
I am intrigued by Aaron Jones, his relative age notwithstanding. That is a guy that intrigues me, but we'll talk more about him. The Triple C in the house. What's up, Colby? Good to see you tonight, big dog. He says, just wanted to say hey and go Bills. Hope they go all the way this year. Not that I wanted them to whoop us. Well, of course. And look, well, first of all, Zach, with this final 4 teams that are in it, do you have an emotional favorite you're kind of pulling for?
I really don't. Obviously, we know how we all feel about Kansas City. Buffalo, I have my own personal reasons. I'm not the biggest fan of them and that whole, I don't know. The Eagles, they're not really likable with their coach Sirianni, and their quarterback is kind of just very stoic. Maybe the Commanders, I do like Dan Quinn. It's a cool story with a rookie quarterback. I don't think a rookie QB has ever won a Super Bowl, so it'd be something for Jaden to do. And
let's see. Tom Brady was a 2000, right? Pretty sure he was class of 2000. They won it in 01. Big Ben was in 04. They won it in 05. So there have been second-year guys, but I'm not sure on that. I don't think so. I think you're right. It's guys, what I'm about to say is very negligible. Like it's not crucial or important, but I want to see a team that's never won it win it. If the Broncos are out, usually I'm going to err on the side of AFC no matter what, Zach, unless just because I was a kid and remembered that brutal run of the NFC. Just you pick a Super Bowl from like whenever it was, 1984, 85, until the Broncos snapped it in Super Bowl 32. It was whoever won the NFC championship game, you could put your money on it. That was going to be the world champion. And so I still have that, hey, whoever's AFC. But even that, beyond that, Zach, I'm hoping for the Bills just because They're one of the great missing rings teams still out there. I think of the Jim Kelly era and all those great players that got so close but no cigar. It'd be cool to see Buffalo win one, even though I don't particularly like them. It is a sore spot. They knocked our Broncos out, but at the same time, if you're the Broncos, you can kind of hold your head a little bit higher if the team that bounced you from the postseason is the eventual world champion. But I digress. Phil, great to see you, brother. Tucson Phil checking in to say good evening, Chad, Zach, and Deacon Scott. Which linebackers do you think will be gone this year? Buckham, MHH for life, Broncos for life. Thank you, brother. Well, the Broncos have 2 unrestricted free agents at linebacker, and they're 2 starters for the majority of the year after our Singleton went down. And so, Zach, I guess I would say, and no offense, Phil, perhaps a better question that being established is, do you see the Broncos bringing either of those guys back?
God, I hope not. People like Cody Barton. They thought he was a good value. I guess he was, but he's such a one-dimensional inside linebacker that I'm just fiending literally for the Broncos to upgrade there with someone that can play at all 3 downs. Sternad was terrible and exposed as the special teamer and career backup that he always has been, Chad. So those 2 I would let walk for sure. And Singleton, if he wants to come back on a 1-year deal, or is he under contract?
He's under contract, one more year.
Right. If they want to plug him in as one starter in the middle there, that's fine, but they got to prioritize getting faster and more dynamic at inside linebacker.
If Cody Barton is willing to come back for something close to what he came back or signed for last year, which was little more than the veteran minimum, I like him as a stopgap, as a failsafe, not as like this is our plan next to Alex Singleton. Although as a first and second down guy, I think you can do worse. He did produce, I think it was his 3rd straight 100 tackle season. So props to him. And like you said, Zach, because of that, and he did have some big plays. They were few and far between, and they were kind of bunchy, but that's the way it goes for linebackers with the big plays, the interceptions and the fumbles and all that stuff. It's usually quite streaky. He had that huge day. Was it New Orleans? Yeah, that huge game in New Orleans. And then from there, it was very much a downhill kind of affair, Zach.
I mean, who didn't have a huge game in New Orleans, though, to be fair? That's a pretty terrible team. But, yeah, I guess he made some, like Josie Jewell. He would show up every once in a while, make a splash play, and I guess justify his starting spot. But overall, Chad, you could do a lot better in the middle of that defense.
Yeah, I think that's one of those positions you're going to see a pretty significant overhaul this year, Phil, to kind of close out that topic for now. Sam Bam, again, thank you, bro.
Thank you, Sam.
You the man. He says, can you guys paint Indianapolis orange instead of red? We're not Chiefs fans here. Hey, it's a figure of speech, but I get you. We'll paint it orange, dog. We'll paint it orange. But we're looking forward to it. It's going to be fun. We'll have a lot of content. In fact, I'm thinking back, Zach, to the first year we went. That was the Drew Lock. Dalton Reisner, 2019. Brett Rippon. I'm trying to remember some of the Broncos from that class beyond the ones I mentioned, but it was before we started doing our podcast as a live stream. In fact, it predated us doing this as a live stream by about 3 or 4 months. We started doing it in September of 2019, and here we are still going. So the reason I even bring that up is this time around, we're going to be doing a lot of live stuff and video stuff for our YouTube community. And between now and then, we're going to be rolling out memberships on YouTube. And so people who are members and specifically Super Chat Superstars, you're going to get some access for sure at the Combine. But yeah, Sam, we'll paint it orange, big dog.
Yeah, we have a lot of exciting things we're going to roll out very soon, and I cannot wait to have boots on the ground out there in Indy, Chat. It's going to be super fun.
Oh, yeah. I can't wait. But, Sam, thank you again, bro. 2 tonight. You are the man. But, Zach, I want to let me grab this from the Ronk real quick here. It says Ashton Genty, Quinshawn Judkins. These are 2 running backs, and then 2 tight ends, Tyler Warren and Colston Loveland. One of these players, if they're there in the first or the second round. So, off the top of my head, we know for sure it's pick 20 in round 1, and I think it's like pick 51 in the second round is the Denver Broncos. But I mean, you even have guys like Mel Kiper mocking Genty to the Broncos at 20. Do you really see a guy who runner up to the Heisman, 2,600-yard rusher being there at 20?
No, I don't think he gets past Dallas, to be honest with you. But if he did, if he got to 20, I would sprint that card to the podium. I don't care what he did in his last game. The guy is an electric talent. People talk about his size because he's a little smaller, but he's the same size as Jahmyr Gibbs, and he's doing quite well out there in Detroit. So, yeah, put him on the list. I also like Travion Henderson. I don't know if he's going to be a first-round pick, but if they don't go running back in round 1, that's the guy they can circle back to in round 2. Warren, obviously, if he falls to 20, another guy I'm probably sprinting up there for. And Loveland is the backup plan if you don't get Tyler Warren. Overall, Rock, I love this list.
So here is, let's real quick. Thank you, Ronk. Since we have a little time, we're doing pretty good on time. But just a quick overview, okay, of Mel Kiper, who nobody bats 1,000, Zach, when it comes to mock drafting. But he's usually gives you a pretty good kind of head start on the way things might fall. Pretty close. And he's got Cam Ward going number 1 overall to the Titans. Then he's got Travis Hunter, the two-way actual Heisman winner, going to the Browns at number 2. Then he's got Deion's boy, the quarterback from CU, at 3, going to the Giants. And then let's see. Now I'm just going to skim so the first non-quarterback skill guy, McMillan, going to the Raiders at 6. Some edge guys. Jalen Walker from Georgia going to the Panthers. That's an interesting, off-ball linebacker is a possibility. And I know Scott just inwardly cringed because I said off-ball instead of inside, but y'all get my drift. I don't think the Broncos will go corner. They could go O-line, but I doubt it. I'm just skimming here. Look, Burden mocked by Kiper to the Cowboys. So this is that spot Zach's talking about. If Genty is he going to get past the Cowboys at 12? Ty Warren going 14th in the mock to the Colts. I could see that. I hope he's there just so the Broncos have options. But here's another off-ball guy, Jihad Campbell, going to the Bengals mocked here out of Alabama at 17. Let's see. Then we get to the Broncos. And here's what he said, Zach, and then I'm going to serve this back to you. Yep. This is Kiper. Quote, "I've made it clear how I feel about taking a running back in the first round, but I'm not the one making the picks. And make no mistake, Genty's going to go in the first round. He's a top 10 prospect with incredible elusiveness. Genty piled up 2,601 rushing yards and 29 rushing scores this season. The Broncos, meanwhile, couldn't establish the run to help out rookie quarterback Bo Nix. Their running backs were in the bottom 10 in rushing yards, total of 1,423, rushing scores and yards per carry in 2024. Lead back Javonte Williams, his contract is expiring, and although Denver drafted Audric Estime in the 5th round last April, it could make a day one splash at the position this year. And an added bonus, Genty is a great pass catcher out of the backfield, which would give Bo Nix, Zach, another outlet."
I mean, if you scroll up, I was going through it with you, and every one of these teams, like the Bucs have Bucky Irving, the Seahawks have Kenneth Walker, the Bengals are a possibility, though they do have Chase Brown. Cardinals have James Conner. Like all these Falcons have Bijan Robinson. Every team in the top 10 until you get to the Broncos, they have Jonathan Taylor of the Colts. They have Achane. Literally, that's the only problem areas if you want Genty to fall to Denver is the Cowboys at 12 and then maybe the Bengals. But the Bengals they might just go all in on defense, which is what they need. So it's not crazy if he escapes the top 10 that he might fall to Denver. And again, if I'm Sean Payton, to quote you, my partner, Chad, I am not looking that gift horse in the mouth. I am turning that card in pretty quickly.
He's even got Loveland here as a first-round pick, going at 22 to the Chargers, reuniting with Jim Harbaugh. I'm just taking a quick gander here at the remainder of the first round here. Let's see. We've got Pierce, outside linebacker to the Lions. I'm just looking for the skill guys on offense because I really feel like, Zach, that's the direction this thing is headed for the Broncos. But it also wouldn't surprise me if one of those top inside linebackers is there, Like if Genty's off the board, Warren's off the board, maybe they view the Michigan tight end as a little too rich at 20. I could see him going linebacker, although it would be the first inside linebacker, first round draft pick since DJ Williams 2004.
I'm telling you what I'm doing in that scenario is I'm trading down a little bit and then taking Loveland and getting a second or third or whatever back in return. I don't know, Chad. As much as I don't want to be hypocritical, as much as I want the Broncos to have a blue chip inside linebacker, I just don't think that takes first round precedent over a tight end, receiver, or running back to help out your franchise quarterback.
We'll see. And Mario, by the way, A.T. Perry did not make an appearance for a reason. Developmental option, you never know, but they're going to spend some money. Let's put it this way, Mario. They're going to invest some resources in wide receiver. Right now, the mandate is build the nest around Bo Nix. And I think, Zach, there were some exaggerations both before and during the season about how bad the Broncos wide receiver core was. But I think as Bo Nix, you saw what great quarterbacks do to the talent around them. As Bo Nix started to get his pro feet kind of underneath him and things started slowing down a little bit and he got his confidence back up, you started seeing the guys around him rise, like Vele. Zach, even though he didn't exactly have a rookie season for the ages, for finishing third on the team in receiving, when the Broncos drafted him, for example, last year in the 7th round, if you would have said, is this going to be the team's number 2 wide receiver and the 3rd leading receiver on the team, I would have laughed in your face. I'd have been like, no way. That's a credit not only to Vele for stepping up and doing his thing, Zach, but to Bo Nix and that effect of raising the ships. But it still wasn't enough. The Broncos need more juice around Bo Nix, and you're going to see it.
It's kind of crazy to me that the Broncos never gave any snaps at all to A.T. Perry when you had Lil Jordan Humphrey dropping passes, Troy Franklin even dropping passes. Why not call the guy up and give him a shot? Same for tight end with Donald Parham, Chad. They never used him despite stashing him the entire season, and now they let him go. He's a free agent. They didn't sign him to a futures deal. So we just need to get better talent in the building overall.
Yeah, agreed on that front. Ronk, does Josh Allen have to win a Super Bowl? No. He's still young. He's still young. That team's going to be an AFC factor for as long as he's in his prime. So Bills fans have a lot to look forward to. Sam Bam, regardless of what happens this year, Sam Bam with his 3rd super chat tonight, carrying the day. Thank you, bro. And he's saying here 13 Thursdays to go from tonight till the draft. Go Broncos. Yeah, that I'll take your word for it. That's a fun way to kind of keep track of it. 13 Thursdays to go because, yes, indeed, the first round is always Thursday night. So we're looking forward to that, Sam.
Lucky number 13. Plus, the Broncos actually have a first-round pick this year. So, yeah, we're going to debate it. Until then, Sam, we're going to have a lot of content between now and then. It's going to be fun going back and forth and seeing what the Broncos do.
Let's talk for a second here about Zach, you had the article for us. Who was it that was pounding the table for Aaron Jones or connecting the dots, landing in Denver?
Yeah, ESPN, they're one of their analysts, Benjamin Solak, he said Aaron Jones would be the ideal fit for the Denver Broncos on a 3-year, he said, a multi-year front-loaded contract. I don't know about paying a 30-year-old running back front-loaded money when you could go draft one in a deep running back class, but if they double dip, Chad, because they're going to overhaul the room. They're not bringing back Javonte Williams. If they want to sign Aaron Jones to a 1 or 2 year deal and not be precluded from still drafting running back high, that's what I would do. If they want to go that direction for a veteran, give me Aaron Jones over Najee Harris. But overall, I am drafting and tapping into the youth available to you in April.
Okay, so being, Zach, that Jones is a December baby and he just turned 30 last month, would you say that he's entering his age 30 season or his age 31? Because he will turn 31 during the season.
31.
So that does kind of put a different complexion on it a little bit in terms of, hey, yeah, great. He's coming off an insane season. I mean, you look at him, let's see, back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons in Green Bay, followed by kind of a little bit of a step back in 2021, then another 1,100 yard season in 2022, then another step back, and then kaboom when he leaves and goes to Minnesota. But career high in carries, Zach, 255 this past season in Minnesota. So that gives him 1,432 total carries, not counting his receptions. Let me see if I can find it. So 323. So we'll call it 1,800, basically, just shy of 1,800 career touches. There's a lot going against him, and yet because of how prolific he was this past season, he'll get paid. You know what I mean? Like front loaded teams aren't going to be stupid, but will the Broncos be willing to compete in that arena is the question.
Yeah, SpotTrack has his market value projected at $5.6 million on a free agent contract, and if at that price, if that's where the Broncos want to go in that route, the veteran, I'm okay with $5.6 million. I'm not committing loads of guaranteed money or multi years to Aaron Jones, Chad, who has not much tread left on those tires, as you just demonstrated there. Only 5 rushing touchdowns, despite all those carries last season as well.
Remember Melvin Gordon and his $8 million per year that Elway gave him?
Don't remember.
And we were a little salty about that one because of the implications it had on Phillip Lindsay, who to this day remains this team's last 1,000-yard rusher, 2019. But in those 2 seasons, he basically combined for just shy, Zach, of 2,000 rushing yards and about 17 touchdowns on the ground. So he was a consistent, reliable in terms of the production, but then you had to worry about the fumbling. And I'm not trying to give everybody a history lesson. We all have the scars etched into our psyche of Melvin Gordon and his fumbles, but that was $8 million. Give me, if it's around five and change, to get a dynamic guy like Aaron Jones, who, by the way, I could see doing very well in a Sean Payton offense with a trigger man like Bo Nix. That's not beyond the pale to me. $5.6 million.
No, and it would at least take the pressure off of not having to go Jensen first round or not having to prioritize running back with your premium selections. But if you don't sign him, you still have to, Chad. You can't ignore the obvious that Bo Nix needs help in his backfield.
Phil says, I'm not saying I want this to happen, but I'm curious, what do you think Sutton is worth? That's a really good question. Let me pull up a resource here. So, Zach, and let's get talking about this while I pull something up here.
I mean, I'd say if a team is desperate enough, they need a receiver like the Patriots, for example, I could see a conditional third that can become a second-round pick with certain incentives and playing time and this and that. He's a number 2 receiver. He's a high-end number 2 receiver or a low-end wide receiver 1. I think a third that can become a second is about his asking price.
Yeah. I see him. I think it's kind of become part of common blog parlance of late to call Sutton a high-end 2, but I think he's more of a mid to low-end 1. He's an ex-receiver. No matter where he goes, he's going to play. That's where he's going to play because of his history and his skill set and his body type and all that stuff. And he has a really good chemistry, Zach, with Bo Nix. I don't think the Broncos are looking to trade Courtland Sutton. I think they like him in a contract year as the security blanket for their young quarterback. I mean, to go over 1,000 yards in the rookie's first year throwing him the ball after a really slow start to the season, the Broncos are excited about what could be. And Courtland Sutton, every once in a while, Zach, he is a receiver after all. He'll give you those mystifying drops, but his ability to score and how he changes things in the red zone for the Broncos is valuable. I would rather throw him a few bucks to make him happy and extend him for a couple of years with Bo. But that is a little bit sketchy because you have 2 other guys coming up here that you got to deal with soon in terms of extensions, Zach, with Zach Allen, Nick Bonito, which Bob Morris wrote about on Mile High Huddle today, in fact.
Yeah, I know the question was hypothetical about Sutton, but the whole point of the offseason is to add to Bo's arsenal, not take away from Bo's arsenal. So we're going to supplement Courtland Sutton. We're not going to replace Courtland Sutton, which is good.
Max Rio, what's up, dude? Thank you for the super chat up there north of the 49th parallel and proving that Broncos country is not a geographic location, baby. It's a state of being. You know this, Max. George Fox, great pod, guys. Thanks for making the offseason go by quicker. Broncos for life, MHH for life. Hit the thumbs up, guys. Yeah, like the video if you're on YouTube, if you're on Facebook. The ultimate compliment, the ultimate sign of support is to share this on your social media. Helps us out. Send it to your fellow Broncos fans that are your friends and family who might appreciate what we got cooking here. But thank you, George. You are the man. The Ronk says I'd give Cortland Sutton a 2-year contract extension to stay with the Broncos. I think that's more in line. Am I freezing? Phil's saying I'm freezing. Are you seeing me freeze, Zach?
A little bit.
Really?
Yeah.
I probably have too much open.
It's a little glitchy.
It's a little glitchy?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you for letting me know, Phil. Appreciate that. Sorry, I'll get her figured out. I might have too many tabs open for our scratch and sniff here tonight, but thank you, buddy. Zach, I think we've kind of hit all the main things we wanted to get to tonight. Here, guys, is your 2-minute warning. Last call. Any burning questions, topics that we haven't addressed so far tonight, get them in the chat, and we'll take a look. But Zach has a few messages for you.
Tremendous podcast, as always, of the Mile High Huddle Pod. If you're not doing so, please follow us on X at the MHH Pod. You can follow the main account on X at Mile High Huddle. Chad at Chad and Jensen, myself at Kelberman NFL, and Scott, our producer, at Scout Kennedy. If you guys want some merch like we're rocking each and every single podcast, check out mhhmerch.com and get you some. If you haven't done so yet, please drop us a like at facebook.com/Mile High Huddle Pod. You can find us on Instagram at mile_high_huddle. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, make sure you're leaving your football priest a 5-star review for a chance to win some merch each and every single month. But if anything, y'all, as always, very, very, very important. The most important thing you can do, subscribe, like, and share this video and every video you see on the MHH channel. It really helps us grow and reach more Broncos fans just like you.
Here's a burning super from Proud Zennial 81. Thank you, bro. Appreciate you. Excited for the off season. Super stoked for the new single Brothers by Bridge the Gap. It's fire. Thank you, bro. Yeah, that dropped yesterday. So stoked to hear it. From Gilbert, Arizona. Awesome, dude. Appreciate the props. Very kind of you, my friend. Guys, go check it out. Just search in Spotify or Apple Music or YouTube, Bridge the Gap Brothers. You'll see. Ronk, great show tonight. Chad and Zach on the Mile High Huddle podcast. Go Bo Broncos. Thank you, brother. And a special shout out to the Mile High Huddle Super Chat superstars and supporters helping us keep the lights on tonight, like the Ronk, Sam Bam, David Yunkin, the Papa Bear, David McElrath, and let's give him his props with the flash there. The Ronk, Colby, Tucson Phil, another one of the great hashtag state of being members of our community. Max Rio up in Canada as well. George Fox, Proud Zennial. Thank you, guys. Much love and respect. Zach and I we're off until Sunday. Now, I will be flying back east. I'm not sure yet the exact schedule, so stay tuned for exactly what the show is. Worst case scenario, you'll always get a show. If I'm out, Zach will hold it down. If he's out, I'll hold it down. But have a great finish up to your week, guys, a great weekend, and we'll talk to you on Sunday night.
Have a great weekend. We'll see you Sunday night. Take care, and as always, go Broncos.